Earlier in the day, in the morning, we were at the Cape Town Central Police Station where the DA was laying criminal charges against the Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nkabane. I am joined by the DA spokesperson, Karabo. We are now back at the parliamentary precinct. Welcome to the SABC.
Thank you so much, Oslu. Thank you for having me, and thank you to your viewers.
You have reported Minister Nkabane to the Ethics Committee and also to the Office of the Public Protector. Today you went to the police station and lay fraud charges.
So there are two offences that we have listed for as charges. One, it is fraud, as you correctly outlined. The second one is a statutory offence under Section 26 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act 4 of 2004. These two charges, we are of the firm believers, the Democratic Alliance, that they will see the minister in jail, because not only did she lie about the independence of the said panel that she used, but she also lied about the composition of the panel itself. If you don't know who the chairperson of the panel that you appointed as the minister is, how do you expect the Republic to even trust that the panel exists to begin with? So these are things that still needs to be answered, and while we have the ethics complaint and that process here at Parliament still needs to go through, as Chapter 9 institution, the Public Protector must also weigh in here, use their power to effectively get the accountability and justice for the people of South Africa. But also the third approach here is to make sure that criminally as well, that SABC is able to make sure that they deliver her behind bars for the people of South Africa who depend on a sober higher education minister whose interests are centered on nothing else but the young people of this country that she is supposed to be the number one champion and vanguard of.
Some would argue that why don't you wait for these two processes, which is the Ethics Committee to rule on her as well as the Public Protector, before you go to police and lay charges based on the outcomes of the investigations by the Office of the Public Protector as well as the Ethics Committee?
We want the law to take its course in its full extent. So there's nothing wrong with having three processes running. So we want to have three findings on her, because that is very important. And those findings are also not independent of our call to President Ramaphosa to fire her. We have seen enough. Hansard here at Parliament has delivered the charge sheet for us to tell us that she has lied over and over again. So we do not need still to hear from SABC, from Ethics, and from the Public Protector for the President to fire her. And we want to, since the President these days is very happy-go-lucky with his prerogative, we want on behalf of young people of this country and students of South Africa to see that the President is able to use that prerogative for the interests of young people.
The contents of your affidavit that you sent to the police station, can you just briefly tell us about what's contained in it?
So it is the background of, since the 13th of May, obviously, when I, on behalf of the DA, released a table of who the appointed people are and their credentials thereof, their backgrounds. It also lists, obviously, the process that was followed within Parliament to date of all the letters that have been written, the committee records themselves, and so on. So these are everything that has already been discussed in the media as far as from start of the 13th of May until today, what has happened. But as I've mentioned, the charges are twofold. One, fraud, misrepresenting information before Parliament, and by extension the Republic of South Africa. Falsifying it is a case of fraud. Refusing to comply with the processes of Parliament and misleading Parliament is also a question of a statutory offence, again under Section 26 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act 4 of 2004.
In the past, even before the DA was part of the Government of National Unity, several cases that the party has opened against ministers. Do you think that this time around something will happen to the minister? Or also, can you just update us as to maybe the previous cases that were opened? Any progress on them?
So we're not deterred by the outcomes of other previous cases. What we are stately committed to is abiding by the law. The law says people who commit fraud and people who have statutory offences must be charged, must be prosecuted, and must be jailed. That's what we want. That's what our concern is. And that's why we're putting faith in SABC's hand to make sure that they play their part in making sure that they deliver justice for South Africans. So that's where we're there. We continue to follow suit. You'd know that even in our court cases that we present, one thing the DA does is win against corruption, and it's win against nonsensible decisions.